So, define the equation of each of the following. Well, in this case, we're finding the quadratic with roots 3 minus I, 3 plus I, vertex with y value of negative 2. Okay, so we know that our general equation is x minus 3 minus I times x minus 3 plus I. And when we multiply that out, we know we're going to get x minus 3 minus I, x minus 3 plus I. We're going to get x squared minus 3x minus ix minus 3x plus 9 plus 3I plus ix minus 3I, and then plus or minus I squared or plus 1. So again, this is our perfect square trinomial of x minus 3 squared. These cancel out, and we're left with x squared minus 3x plus 9, or x squared minus 6x plus 9, a perfect square trinomial of x minus 3 times x minus 3. And then the plus 1 that comes from negative I times positive I. And again, we still have our a values, so we have a times x squared minus 6x plus 10. And we know that our y value, that the vertex, the y value of the vertex is negative 2. We also know the x value of the vertex because it has to be halfway between our two roots. We have 3 minus I, 3 plus I. So we know that when that the vertex x value has to be 3. So therefore, we can say that negative 2 is equal to a times, we'll get 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 10 is going to give us negative 2 is equal to a times 9 minus 18 is negative 9 plus 10 is positive 1. So a is equal to negative 2, and that means we have y is equal to negative 2 times x squared minus 6x plus 10, or y is equal to negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 20. All right, general equation of the quadratic with roots of 3 minus 2 square root 2i, 3 plus 2 square root 2i. So again, we're going to get that we have the general equation is going to be a, and we know we're going to end up with the 3 x squared minus 6x plus 9. That comes from the x is equal to 3, the vertex x equal to 3. And then at the end here, we're going to have 2 root 2i times negative root 2i, which means we're going to end up with negative 4 times 2 times I squared, which means we're going to end up with a times x squared minus 6x plus, this is 9, and this is going to end up being 8 times negative 1, so we have minus negative 8, or plus 17 altogether. And so this is the general equation. We have y equals a times x squared minus 6x plus 17. All right, a little evaluation. We're just multiplying here, so we're going to do our 4 multiplications. 4 times 2 minus 3i times 2 is minus 6i, plus 4 times 5i is plus 20i, and then we have minus 15i squared. And again, we will always end up with just a real term and an imaginary term because this thing is going to become negative 15 times negative 1, so we're going to end up with 4 times 2, or 8, plus 15, and then these combine to give us plus 14i, so we end up with 23 plus 14i as the product of these two. All right, this one we know that we're going to have to do by multiplying by the conjugate of the denominator over the conjugate of the denominator. The bottom gives us an a plus b times an a minus b, which means that we end up with 2 squared minus 5 squared I squared, so minus 25 times negative 1, or plus 25. So we're going to end up with 29 as our denominator. Up top, we're going to have 4 times 3, or 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times negative 5i is negative 20i. Negative 3i times 2 is negative 6i. Negative 3i times negative 5i is positive 15i squared, which is negative 15. So we end up with negative 7 minus 26i all over 29, or we could rewrite it as negative 7 over 29, which is the real portion, minus 26 over 29i, which is the imaginary portion. And we are done.